You guys want to see something funny? This is GameSpot.com around when it first launched, something like 1996.
Yeah. GeoCities.
Video GameSpot. We're going to go through and have a look at how the site has evolved really quickly. Each of these snapshots is about 1 or 2 years after, depending on what the Internet Archive could actually spew out.
I like the purple. The purple is great.
Slight logo change there up in the corner.
Wow, I really like purple.
Contrasts the orange quite well. I think that was an accident, I'm not sure. You can actually see, I believe that's Jeff Gerstmann's face down there by the Free Play logo, so that's kind of the first time we started putting personalities on the site. This is looking a bit more familiar. Hey, some breathing room. Alright, nice and modern, nice and clean. Getting more familiar. That's a bug, that's not meant to...
I never went in a whole different direction.
Yeah. Eventually we decided to show the entire person's face, and here we are today.
Wow.
So this is kind of a quick look.
Yeah,
Thank you. We can't take credit for that, we're not designers, so thank you, design team.
What we're trying to look there is how the presentation of games journalism and games criticism has evolved with the technology. You can see it was kind of entirely squashed into a little column, tiny little images, really compressed. And we've gone from that all the way up to huge header images, video that front loads personalities, and a kind of coverage that really puts the games themselves at the forefront. So my name is Dan Hines, and I am the Australian editor of GameSpot. I joined the site in January this year.
Hi everyone, my name is Zorine T, and I'm the associate editor in the Australian office of GameSpot, and I've been here about 2 years and 9 months now.
Wow, 2 years and 9 months. Jeez, that means I've been here like 3 years. I'm Jess McDonald. I'm the video journalist for GameSpot. Funny title, it's actually just me and Danny O'Dwyer, who are technically video journalists. Not sure what it means, but basically I do GameSpot news every day, and just as you can see up there, every week.
Hi, I'm Edmund Tran. I am the video director for GameSpot in Australia. I've been with GameSpot for 6 years.
So how did we get to where we are today? I used to work for a magazine called PC Power Play, and that was kind of my start in games journalism. So I've gone from the world of print, which is very static but very traditional, and I've moved on to this site, which is entirely video focused. Not entirely, but like a good majority of it. Zorine, where were you before?
So this is going to be a long tale, but basically when I started off in the games industry, I had no connections or no experience, nothing, but I really wanted to get into it. And so I started off just writing, at the time I think Kotaku was taking reader reviews. I still think they do actually, but I started off writing reader reviews and sending them in, and I was really lucky at the time. David Wildgoose, who was the editor of Kotaku Australia, published one of my reader reviews, and it was like a huge, big deal for me. I was really, really happy with that. I think he realized how much of a life-changing thing that was for me. And, from then on, I just started writing a lot of stuff and sending them out wherever I could in the hopes that, at least one of them would hit and get published. And eventually Mark Serrels, who is currently the editor of Kotaku Australia today, I spoke to him, and I was big in competitive gaming, so I started writing stuff about esports in Australia because there was kind of a big gap for that kind of stuff. And I was really lucky because Serrels had a bit of an interest in that, and he started publishing my features there. And from there I gained experience, and started pitching to other places. And I wrote for a while for the Black Panel as well, which is an Australian games website, and I did reviews there and such. And like from then on, the Black Panel gave me a lot of opportunities to go out and network and meet people, including the GameSpot team. So, at one of these events, I started speaking to the GameSpot team, and when a position opened up, I went and applied for it. And I'm hoping that, the fact that I met them before was kind of helpful to me in getting a job there. So I went in for the interview, did a couple of interviews, and then eventually landed a job as the community manager. And I did that for like 2 years, and I was made an associate editor this year. But I still do a lot of community stuff in my job day to day, and I do lots of writing and videos as well as part of my editorial duties. So that's my long story of how I ended up on GameSpot.
My story is very different. I started at GameSpot when I was 20, and I was still in university. These guys were looking for a casual video journalist to work 3 days a week, which is good for me because I was at uni.
Filthy casual.
And I fit the bill perfectly. And I had recently figured out that games journalism was what I really wanted to do, probably less than 12 months beforehand. Always had a huge passion for gaming, never really thought about doing it as a career. It just seems like one of those things, like, you can't actually do the job. That is your hobby. It doesn't seem like a thing that happens, but sometimes it does. But yeah, so I knew absolutely nobody. I had no connections, and I think it's kind of a nice, like, off the cut tale from Zorine and Dan, where there is this whole thing that you need to have connections and you need to be like well networked and stuff like that. And whilst it absolutely helps, it's not completely necessary. Like these guys, Ed was there for my interview, and I had to make a video, which I did on Sony Vegas, a system I never used before. It was okay.
Well, it's pretty good. Like, you got the job.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And well, another thing I had to do in my interview was I had to speak to a teleprompter, and I shook the whole time. I was absolutely terrified. But yeah, they took me on for that position. I worked 3 days a week for, I think, that went for 9 months or something. And then these guys took me on full time. And yeah, that was like 2 and a bit years ago. Here I am.
Cool. Yeah, I just kind of fell into it as well. I'm kind of like Jess. I've always loved games, and I used to write for blogs and fan sites and stuff. I never really thought that game journalism would be like a thing that I would actually get into, especially in this country, right? So I was just at uni. I kind of wanted to be a video game academic, like Journey around and stuff. So I was writing my thesis at the time, and I didn't need a degree at UNSW. And I just, through a connection, I just got a casual job, like, doing general video editing for CBS. So, like, besides, like, GameSpot and CNET and ZDNet, TV.com and stuff, that eventually, like, when I finished my thesis, like, they were just like, hey, you want to come on and work for us full time? I'm like, sure. And I just that just happened. So, yeah, no, I'm still here. So,
Sweet.
So one of the things that was a major change with GameSpot quite recently is a move to kind of like a global site platform. I think last year we used to have GameSpot AU, which was almost entirely a separate site. And now when you go to GameSpot locally, you see the same thing that the US is seeing and the UK is seeing as well. I wasn't actually here for that transition, so do you guys want to talk a bit more about why that happened and what that kind of meant for the way you guys work?
I guess the main thing is they saw the benefit in pursuing all our CBS Interactive sites, like CNET, ZD, and everything, as less like localized regional franchises and more just a global thing that everybody can contribute to, which is better because instead of getting 5 or 6 different sites that are just catered towards those regions and can only be serviced by the often small teams that are in non-US regions, we get to take advantage of the fact that games is it's a global thing. It's a global thing that it occasionally has those regional impacts like servers or something, but on the whole, I think the way that Australians enjoy games is very similar to the way that Americans enjoy games and what have you, and we've totally been able to leverage that with the fact that, Ed and I produce GS News for the world.
Yeah, I know some sites do have AU editions and Eurogamer is like Italy and all the different languages and stuff. It doesn't really make sense for English speaking world. So I mean, yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, and I write news for us. I'm part of the news team globally, and it's a huge advantage for GameSpot to be able to cover news 24 hours a day. Like, when the US is clocking off, we come on and I take over the news beat for us, and, when I clock off, the UK comes on. So it's really advantageous for us to be able to, be on news 24/7 when something breaks after hours for them. Australia's around to take care of that too. So I think it's definitely a good move to go global as well for us because we have a much bigger reach for our local team, which is really great. And having that whole global community as well is really great.
Yeah, I mean, if any of you guys write for fansites or anything, it's really hard, right? And we're 4 people, and GameSpot in Australia has never been more than 4 people.
Yeah, even though we're small, we're still this important aspect of the site, and every now and then something will pop up where we exist to cover it. We're ready for that. One of the weird random things was we got basically a world exclusive hands-on with the new 3DS model. Because as you know, that's not coming out in America until next year, and they don't even have a date yet, and it's actually coming out here beforehand. So when we're here to cover something like that, because they actually have the new 3DS in the country, we sort of just make ourselves available to do that, and that becomes part of the global platform.
Yep.
So I want to talk now about what you guys think the best part of your job is. Just give me a quick overview of what the thing is that keeps you coming in every day. And for me, I think it's just the chance to have critical discussions about video games on a level with people who want to engage as deeply as I do. And that kind of back and forth is really, I think, stimulating and invigorating. And it's the kind of thing where you start to analyze or learn more about a game when you're actually talking about it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, I guess it's kind of like that as well. I mean, I really love working with you guys and being able to come in and every day and just be super into and engaged with games that I really love and continue to do that, not just when I go home, but also back into the office and do that as well. It's something that I really, really enjoy doing, and I'm forever grateful every day that I get to do that as part of my job.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are insanely talented, some of the most talented people I've ever met. And I think it's also the feeling of accomplishment. It's we get to do so many different things in any given week. Every single day, Ed and I get in at 6 in the morning, and by 9 in the morning, we've knocked off GS News. That's something that we've put on site that's going out to tens of thousands of people, and it exists, and we do that 5 times a week, and it's wicked. And then I get to do a show like The Gist, where they're pretty much do whatever. We're given a lot of creative freedoms from the US head office, and I pretty much just do whatever's inspired me that week, whatever's happening in gaming or whatever I feel like discussing. It's it's semi homework, but it's nice homework. It's just let's write a discussion paper on something. Let's roll out 1,000 words on, 4 of the scariest games you'll ever play is perhaps not the discussion point I'm talking about. But fun. Not fun to edit for me, but that's another thing. I mean, there's lots of things. It's I get to do some writing, I get to do some editing. There's always so many different projects going on, it's impossible to be bored.
Like that. No one used the word wicked. I've never
I've said wicked before.
Okay.
At least 2 or 3 times.
I mean, it's just, a job is a job. At the end of the day, a full-time job has its ups and downs, and the downs can be really fucking, really bad. But at the end of the day, you think about it, it's my hobby is my full-time job, and that's really rare. You take that for granted, really easily.
How do you feel about your hobby now that it is your job, though?
Well, no, I still love it. Sometimes I hate it. I really hate video games. Oh, no, I love it. But sometimes I come into work and I just don't want to look at another game, and I just go through the motions. I mean,
really?
For the most part, people think that you go to work every day and you play games, but no way. I mean, you spend 8 hours a day just churning through video editing and shooting and running around and all that kind of stuff. And you guys are always writing and hunting out stories and stuff. I mean, it's not rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to have this impression that we will get into the office and alright, pull out the consoles, let's play some video games.
That would be sweet.
It's the total opposite of that. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And, you know, for me also, you know, I love hanging around the team here. They're really engaged with games all the time. And, like, I love coming in and being like, hey, I played, like, X and Y last night, and I want to tell you all what I think about it, you know? Like, at my old workplace, I worked with, like, 40-year-olds who had no idea what video games were. So, you know, it's nice that I get to do that now. And I also love it when you guys leave your PCs unlocked.
I don't do that anymore.
So let's talk a bit about what we think the hardest parts of our jobs are. One of the hardest things for me is I would really like to cover more indie games in a major fashion, but it's really difficult to convince the people upstairs or the people in the US that this is something worth covering. Back when I was on PC Powerplay and I was the editor, I was basically the last word, and I could pretty much do whatever I wanted in 100 pages, and there was no one there to say no, which was kind of weird, and I don't know why they let me do that. But, you know, it worked out pretty well. And then for this side, it's obviously a massive operation, and there's like lots of spinning plates. And because the revenue model is different, it's not about selling a physical product. It's not about getting that cover price. It's about clicks, and it's about hits, and it's about trying to find something that the audience is going to be interested in. So finding ways to frame indie games in ways that are kind of familiar and recognizable is something that I'm finding quite challenging at the moment.
I mean, we used to have a show called Indie Hour, which I hosted with these guys, and we just look at indie stuff every day. And then, you know, you come to the realization that there's only so much room on the front page. There's like only so much content that they want up there. And it's just about like what takes priority.
Yeah.
Like what do people actually click on our site? It's like people come, like the GameSpot audience wants to know about like the reviews and stuff.
Absolutely.
At the same time, want to like feed them like the knowledge bombs of like, check out this cool thing, like check out Hotline Miami, you know, this is the next big thing.
Yeah. It's nice to jump on that stuff, but I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it is. GameSpot is one of those blockbuster sites that is, you know, our central focus tends to be AAA, but we try very hard to approach it in a way that is interesting and offering something different. That isn't just, I want to say list shows, and I know that I have a list show up there. But yeah, it's not just list shows and here's another Call of Duty video. It's
1080p, 60 frames a second.
Those are the buzzwords, man. But honestly, like for me, Dan, when you ask what the hardest things about my job is, there's two things that really come to mind. The first is, so GameSpot's known for being really like critical in our reviews. We take them very, very seriously. And like, you know, Dan and I are part of the editorial team, and when someone reviews a game, the whole global team pitches in their QA and what they think like that review is, and like if you give a score to something, you really need to back that up. And sometimes it's really frustrating because I think the editorial team all over the world, like there's like what, 8 of us, 6 of us, I'm not really sure, like 8 of us off the top of my head, and we all like, we get so passionate about the games that someone's reviewing, we all argue about it, you know. And like, I know one of the games that comes to mind is Goat Simulator. So actually the review for Goat Simulator never went up on site because we all argued about the score. Like we were like, you know, and that to me was, I really like having that because it means our reviews that do go up are very, like, they're on point, they're critical, they've been through so many processes that we put them through. And it's just, sometimes it's really frustrating because, you know, we have strong-willed people who like, no, this game should have, like, you're criticizing it the wrong way. Or like the Goat Simulator one, for example, you know, there was a huge discussion between all the editors about how it was a satire and like a piss take on
what
the
is
game.
the value of paying for a joke?
Exactly,
basically.
you know, and like the score we gave, I don't even remember the score we gave, but we ended up not publishing that review because we could not settle on, you know, like something that we thought was a good representation of what GameSpot thought of that game.
And that's not going to be limited to something like Goat Simulator, which is this weird little anomaly. It could be any AAA game out there. If the review just isn't working, it's going to get completely retooled, or, you know, perhaps even shipped to someone else if that just can't get worked. And
I don't know if many of you saw, but we recently gave Bayonetta 2 a 10 out of 10. And we very rarely give games the perfect 10. And that took a couple of days of like back and forthing between everyone. I mean, Mark Walton, our UK editor, was the person who reviewed it. And, you know, the US office and Dan and myself, we all pitched in what we thought and really made that review, like it had to be perfect in order to reflect why we gave that game a 10 out of 10. The other thing I was going to mention about my job also is I deal with a lot of community stuff as well. And, the community can be a bit very passionate, but also angry.
They're right there, Zorine.
And, sometimes it's a bit upsetting, to see, what people are capable of. But, at the end of the day, I still have a great time talking to people who like games and love video games. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I had to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the comment section.
Comments.
Comment section
It's my job.
is a magical place. I always say that, actually, now that you mentioned best and worst thing about my job, I always say the best thing and worst thing about my job is the same. It's the people that watch my videos. Getting to meet you guys and talk to you guys and hear your opinions and read your comments, yes, is one of my favorite things. I love the engagement, not just with these guys sitting up here with me, but with all you guys on a day-to-day basis. It's really important to me to make myself available on Twitter and on my Facebook, because, the whole reason for us being there is to begin that discussion, whether it's a gist episode I've made or news that I've reported on. It's something that is supposed to be a discussion point between us and you guys, between you guys and other ones of you guys. But, where the comment section can be this great place where everyone shares their educated ideas and thoughts, it's also the most vile and awful thing that's ever happened ever.
It's so weird, because Dan, I know you PC Power Play is a print magazine. In print, you don't get that feedback right away. You can't.
We got a couple of letters from prison once, but that was cool.
Yeah. But it's so weird working for a website because you can't just curate at something that you think people will enjoy, because then a few days after, you know what people have clicked on, you know what they're saying about it immediately, and then higher ups want to sort of curate that content based on what people have been saying and what people have been clicking on and how they've linked on something. It's really weird that journalism has kind of shifted like that. We're trying to cater more to the audience and not necessarily dictate the taste as much.
Well, here's a little secret. The amount of people who comment compared to the amount of people who view an article, it's in the single-digit percentages. So as valuable as comments are, they are a vocal minority most of the time. And so you have to take a whole different range of data points into account. Yeah.
Yeah, that say a Call of Duty video will get a bazillion views, and then everyone will be like, hey, Call of Duty, people are really into that. We should do more Call of Duty stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much influence their comments has in terms of influencing the content we actually produce. So
let's talk about how the industry has changed since we started working in it. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of got a bit of whiplash when I went from print to online. It was a massive transition and a really exciting transition as well, because when you think about it, video is the perfect way to show a game, to talk about a game or to explain a game and criticize a game, because you need to see these things in motion. You need to see them being played. They're these weird, complex, deep things that when you just have a wall of text doesn't really give the whole story. So the move to video, I think, is one of the best things that's really happened for games. But even beyond that, when I started in the industry, I didn't have a Twitter account, which seems crazy now.
Me neither.
Exactly.
And I didn't want one.
Yeah.
I was never specifically told you have to get one. Randolph Ramsey, who hired me, it was just a suggestion. So, you might want to get one. So I was like, I was in my first, I think for the first 7 months I worked at GameSpot, I was like, okay, I'll do everything you say.
Yep.
And now I don't do anything. That's because Ed's my boss. But yeah, I hated the idea. Why would I tweet anything I do? That's completely useless and stupid.
Yeah, who the hell wants to hear what I have to say?
No one. I think I tweeted 3 times, hey, we're in drop bear. And I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, I'm out. It's pretty good.
Yep.
I'm in Melbourne.
Hashtag YOLO.
The thing is, your social media presence is more and more becoming directly related to how employable you are in the industry. For better or worse, I think. If you have your own audience that you can take with you between institutions, that's an amazing thing, and it's something that's never really been able to happen before.
Yeah, and I think it's actually really cool to have like these new mediums in which you can speak to your audience or speak to people who are interested in what you do and like, you know, give you feedback like directly, like, oh, I really hated how you wrote that article, or good job doing that video, you know. And social media has definitely changed our jobs a lot. When I first started off, I was already like on Twitter and everything, but like, you know, when I started at GameSpot, that's when things really started, I guess, changing for me. And it's so, you have to play such a careful line when you're on social media as well, because it's a powerful tool that can like make or break your career, you know. So that's definitely one of the big things that's changed for me, like just being aware of the power of social media and how public that space is.
It can go to your head as well. Like, I got 20 retweets, I'm so awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about live streaming now, because this is one of the things that's like really changing the way everyone is working in this industry, not just journalists, but developers as well, publishers, PR, the way that they showcase and demonstrate their games to the public. And the public is also a part of that process as well. They have their own streams, they have their own audiences. You don't have to be employed at, say, GameSpot to become, you know, well known for live streaming. Mm-hmm. How have you guys found?
YouTube in general, I think, does. I love it. I personally think it's amazing, this level of independence that's come to games journalism and streaming, YouTubers. The fact that they can harness these platforms and just build themselves empires, I think is hugely admirable, and it's important, because I think we can learn a lot from each other. Like we have a very rigid professional, like many levels of hierarchy in GameSpot, and whilst we get a lot out of that and we have a lot of talented people and a lot of interesting ideas, the raw creativity that comes from people who are just like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and they get to broadcast their personalities so vividly. And I think that's one of the things that GameSpot is certainly starting to do that's something that Giant Bomb has always done, and something GameSpot's really starting to do lately, because we do, these guys, but the people in the UK, US, we have.
I think a lot of major game sites struggle to catch up with the trends like that, because with the big sites, you need to vet things through people, and that's such a huge risk. Whereas as a YouTuber, you're one guy or girl, and
Yeah, it's important to note that we are not the ones setting these trends here. Like, we're always reacting to them. Exactly. And it's these kind of grassroots, independent, new platforms of technology that kind of change the way we have to operate. And to be perfectly honest, I'm still getting used to the concept of live streaming. I mean, I mentioned before that I like having those in-depth critical discussions, and that requires me to play a game and go away and think about it for a bit, rather than just kind of at the point in time that I'm playing it. So
I kind of worry that the audiences of who consume game media content will just grow up on new YouTube stuff, live stream stuff, and they'll just not need us at all. Mm-hmm. They'll just forget about that in-depth stuff, Dan. That's lame.
Yeah, no.
I'm just gonna watch someone finish a game.
I play a horror game.
Yeah, well, when I started at GameSpot, I think was when, the time live stream started to really kick off for us. We partnered with Twitch, and we were doing 4 live stream shows a week at that time, and it was just so intense. But I honestly think live streaming is a different way to present content, because it's you're live, you don't have time to, if you make a mistake or something, it's on the off the cuff, you're just playing the game, and people for some reason tuning in and watching you play games. And I think live streaming is honestly the future. I really think that's where gaming is going to go. 5 years ago, people would not have even wrapped their heads around the concept of watching someone play games live. But now I think it's a really powerful thing, and honestly, I think that's where the gaming trends are going to be heading.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways to deliver content quickly, and our industry is all about being on the ball. The second something is made available to us, we need to get it to you. And whoever's on the clock then, whoever's job it is to push out that video, that trailer, and a lot of the time that, gameplay section or a game is just launched. And that's why we have our Now Playing series, which is basically, we just got our hands on this game, now you can see it. Whether or not you've pre-ordered it, if you haven't, it is a great opportunity to get your eyeballs on it and figure out whether or not you want it. And I think everyone's leveraging that.
Let's talk about. Sorry.
Do you think reviews hold its relevance because people can just make up their own minds? I'm still one of those people who likes the number. I know a lot of people don't. I just like, you know what? I like the number, and I like if you like the
this
gist
is applicable. I like the gist. I like just being able to see the pros and cons of the number. But another point to why video is so great. One of the awesome things is to be able to have visual cues for everything. Like I think that a video review personally has more value than a written review. Because, it's the picture that speaks 1,000 words. I write scripts all the time, and I don't have to concern myself quite so much with my phrasing because I know people are going to see what I'm talking about. And I think that adds a whole other dimension that I would be surprised if written reviews can
This is going to sound really strange coming from the guys in charge of video, but I really prefer written reviews.
Yeah.
You can see what a game looks like in a video, but you don't know how it feels. You feel it with someone's eloquent, poetic words.
Well, I think the thing about...
Thanks, Ed.
The thing about written reviews, though, on GameSpot, I can't speak for other sites, but, you really have to justify that score that you've given it. I mean, you guys can see Lords of the Fallen behind us got an 8. And when we QA those reviews, your reasoning and the way you write it, it has to be watertight, perfect.
Yeah, it's important to add that when we do that QA, we haven't played the game ourselves because most of the time, it's a pre-release copy that goes straight to the reviewer. So we are looking at the text from the perspective of a reader who has also probably not played the game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think written reviews will have a place for some time to come because it offers a way to break down a game and examine each element in more detail than I think a video is able to. Also, if you're waxing lyrical about a game, for 10 minutes, it's a bit too long for video, and I think doing that on the page with words is a much more appropriate way to do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about how other people might be interested in getting into the industry and what kind of advice we can offer them. My advice would be to basically be proactive with everything we just talked about. Make your own YouTube channel, do your own live streams. Yeah. There's so much out there that you can make a platform for yourself without needing any formal qualifications or official internship in an existing publication. It's all out there, and you just have to kind of go and do it. And you're going to suck the first time, and that's okay. Maybe don't make those videos live and viewable, but make them practice runs and go back and watch them and try and see what you did that could be improved on.
Yeah, and that's just a really easy way to show your passion as well. Yeah. You can say you're passionate about video games, but that is the paper trail is the best way to show. I mean, when Jess applied for her job, she had so much her own blog and stuff, and so yeah.
Yeah, I think stuff like that makes a huge difference. Just proving oh hey, I didn't actually need anyone to be paying me or to be getting a grade to be doing this. It's something that I will actively, go out in my free time and make a video or, write a review or anything like that. I think the key is just to practice your art and don't be afraid to approach people in this industry with what you've got. When you think you've got something going, you believe in yourself absolutely, when you've got that portfolio, there are so many people here working in the industry who have been right where you are and wanting to be where we are, and it's totally a thing that can be set up. Yeah, so just keep trying.
My advice is stay determined. Don't lose faith in yourself. It's really easy for that to happen. If you want to be in the industry badly enough, you've got to make it happen. And I was there, and it seems like it's such an unbreakable thing, right? It's this huge circle of people, and you don't know any of them, and you're kind of you're just starting out, and you have nothing against your name, but stay determined. Do fine tune your craft. If you want to be a writer, write all the time. Have all that material there, so when opportunities do come up, you're prepared to fight for it.
And to bring it back to how journalism itself has changed, I mean, when I first applied for my original job on PC Power Play, I just sent in a written sample and that was it. if I did that today, I wouldn't get that job.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have so much more material, and you have to be multi-skilled and multi-talented, and you don't necessarily have to have a social media presence, but you need to understand social media and how that works. And you need to have an image that you can sell in a way that makes you unique and valuable amongst this massive kind of swath of voices that are already out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think one of the important things that a lot of people forget too is that to make it as a games journal, you don't need to be working for GameSpot or IGN. Like, this is a wonderful industry where you can absolutely carve out your own niche, and there are so many avenues for you to do that. Like, you can make your own website. Like, the people on YouTube who are killing it are earning a hell of a lot more than us. So it's totally viable.
Yeah, some of the best writers like in the world for video games are mostly freelancers. So
Yep.
I just was going to say social media is a powerful tool that you can harness. I mean, like 10 years ago, it would have been really hard to break in, but like honestly, like look at where you want to work. For me, when I was going for the GameSpot job, I stalked like the whole team on Twitter and like got to know them and what they were like and what they were into, and that's a really powerful thing because you go into an interview knowing like the team that you're possibly going to be working with and like understanding what drives them, and you know that is something that I think is really powerful to have.
Yeah.
that's me.
What drives Ed?
You hate video games.
Just a note on the whole YouTube and live streaming stuff. It's a very volatile platform at the moment. You know, YouTube or Google rather can change its policies at a drop of the hat, and you can find your revenue sources are suddenly gone. Same thing with Twitch. Now that they're a part of Amazon, we saw people's archived streams getting muted for copyrighted audio. And so the way that you actually earn a living doing this is still up in the air. Sites like obviously GameSpot or IGN and the established ones, the ones that can pay you a full-time wage, they're going to be far more stable, but they're going to still have to react and change to these other platforms. Yeah. Cool. All right. So we're going to start taking questions from the audience now. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll have a microphone coming around.
Cool.
Where's the microphone? Yeah, just
This one down here. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, so basically I've been to a few of these sort of tales over the past weekend, and it's come to my attention that, you know, you really need a backlog of stuff to be like, hey, you know, I do this sort of thing. So I've sort of found a niche that I sort of want to exploit.
okay.
Yeah, and it's not a lot of people using it at the moment. I'm just wondering, with the type of games, do you have any tips for someone who is, you know, no experience, get in touch with sort of developers and be like, hey, I want to talk about your game, interview you, preview your stuff, you know, obviously not AAA, but sort of like indie, you know, words to use, ways to get there, who to talk to, that sort of thing.
Yeah, indie stuff is a hell of a lot easier to do for that because they are really, really happy to talk about their game to anyone. And they generally have their contact addresses on their website. Just shoot them an email, be like, hey, this is how I want to talk about your game. Give them an outline of the things you want to do. They're not necessarily going to want to see your past work because they're not going to vet you. They're not paying you. So you don't necessarily need to have that backlog. But yeah, just blind shoot them an email, and more often than not, they'll get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be surprised how helpful publishers, indie or otherwise, can be when you're like, hey, I just want to, you know, give you some free press, basically. Like, I'm actually genuinely passionate about your game and I want to talk about it. Whether it's in a big avenue or a small one, I think you would find pretty positive reception.
A lot of regular devs, like on Twitter and stuff, are pretty open to that as well. You might need to go through like a PR agent or whatever, but yeah, get into it.
Don't be afraid to reach out. Like, the worst they can say is no, basically.
Cool.
Next question. Lady over there. Just right there.
Blue hair?
Pointer person.
I had two questions. One was short though. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Just with the fourth, the scariest games you want to play, I'm really happy to see Version 02 up there. So it's the most terrifying thing I've ever done.
Yep, Zorine and I played the whole game. It's terrifying.
Oh, that's great. Did you play the re-release and the original one? And if so, did you find that the voice acting in the re-release was severely lacking?
I only played Fatal Frame 2.
I played are you talking about the re-release on
The
Wii?
one on Wii, yeah.
Yes. The one on Wii I found to be not that great compared to the original. Maybe because I kind of went in with, the first time you play a game, you're like, whoa, this is amazing. And then you go in trying to harness that amazingness of the first time you're playing it again. And it just falls short of expectations. I really didn't like the reaching mechanic because it was weird slow motion, reaching towards something. I thought that was a little bit weird.
It was really weird.
But
I getcha.
the original was definitely much better.
Great. And just with getting more coverage for indies, I'm sure this is already past your minds and you probably try to push for it, but having a section on the website which is it's tab at the top, which is just for indie, do you think it's a bit of a chicken, which came first, chicken or the egg? If you cover it more, it'll become more popular, or do you need to wait for it to be more popular, or what is it that's stopping there being a whole different section of the website for indie?
So the funny thing about that is when I was on PC Power Play, we actually had a different section for indie game reviews. We called them garage games back then because there was indie games as a word didn't exist. But it kind of ghettoized them, and it wasn't really representing them in a way that was best for them. I mean, they're just games. It's better to just have them in the river with the AAA stuff as well, because they're just as important to us and the audience. But in terms of getting the more kind of niche or esoteric ones, I don't know. I mean, we have a whole engineering team that looks at the actual site layout, and it's questions that I'm sure they're considering, but we don't really have any influence over that, unfortunately. Yeah.
No worries.
Let's do down the front.
Yeah. Hello, down the front. We'll try and reach as many as we can.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
What do you think sets you apart, each of you, as individuals in the journalism world? Being Asian.
That said, no, we're a really diverse team. I think that really works to our favor. I really
Apart from
enjoy.
Dan.
I'm a straight white guy with a beard. I got nothing
Really
going for
tried
me.
to
So
cut down away, guys. I don't know. I think this industry's just full of fascinating people who all care about different little niches of games and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, especially with GameSpot, especially going global, having different voices and different
So
faces from all over the
different,
world
yeah.
is something really unique that I think sets us apart.
Yeah.
It's very funny when we're all together because we have such conflicting opinions on certain games. I play a lot of competitive games and I really love shooters, and I'm your typical, well, I don't want to say typical, but a bit of a bro gamer, and it's funny because we'll come in and oh, what did you think about that trailer? And I'd be like, I loved it. The action was awesome, bang, and then Ed would be like, yeah.
It's kind of nice. We're a weird Venn diagram, the four of us. A nice, super into our point-and-click adventure games, but mildly different sides. Dan and I don't want to hear about MOBAs. These guys are super into Dotas. We've got our overlap areas, which is kind of nice, and it makes for creative discussions. But I think everybody's sort of like that in this industry. It's fascinating.
Maybe we're actually boring.
Everyone else is fascinating.
Next question. Fellow over here in the red shirt.
I've got a couple of questions too. First one probably for Jess. When you go in to do a clip like GIS, how long does it typically take end to end, and how much of that do you do yourself as opposed to letting on your team?
The gist is I wanted to talk about because that's actually one I pretty much do independently. GameSpot News, I write and Ed edits it. For the gist, that's where I get to flex my editing skills. So I'd say I script it in 2 or 3 hours. If I'm really laboring on it to make it good, and then I get there's a lot of research involved in that too to make sure I'm saying interesting things. That gets a look over from both Dan and Ed. I get their input, then Ed and I will shoot, which takes about 30 to 40 minutes, and I'll spend probably 2 to 3 hours editing it. So it's a lot of work to do a feature show. But I think we've kind of got it down to a fine art. It's really enjoyable to be able to start with nothing, like the pre-script stage where there's just bullet points, and then to feel every week feels like a labor of love. It's just like, this is going to happen. All I have is the title, and then to kind of formulate that with these guys' input to make a show that I'm pretty proud of that I get to put out every Monday now. It's awesome.
Just one more if I may. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the last couple of months. The journal industry around games has been pretty rocky.
Right.
How's GameSpot sort of addressed the issues about, maybe it's about ethics and gaming journalism? So, what's been going on from your end there? And how
We actually released an official statement on our thoughts, and it's basically that, GameSpot does not get behind threats. Basically, we're a site that has put a lot of effort into fine-tuning like our personal code of ethics for like our comment section and stuff. It's not okay to personally attack like any of our reviewers or editors or video personalities. And that's something that we carry through to our views to the rest of the industry.
And trying to lead by example.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That guy over there.
Okay. So my question is, if you're looking for a new employee and you've got a bunch of pretty equal candidates, what's the number one skill that you would give for someone?
It's a good question.
Depends on what job they're going for. Do you mean like an editor role or like?
I'll let you know a general sort of role. But if someone's got a particular skill in an area, what would be that skill that you would say, okay, that person's really valuable?
So the thing is, there actually aren't really any general roles anymore. You can't really just be hired as a writer or as whatever. It's kind of like you need to specialize. So I mean, like say,
The skill set's good.
let's go with a hypothetical. Like say we were hiring a new video personality. What would you guys look for?
Well, I can speak to when we were hiring Jess, like we needed an all-rounder, because you need all-rounders. And like sometimes you get people who are really good at like video editing, have phenomenal show reels, and sometimes you'll get the opposite. Sometimes you get people really passionate, sometimes you won't, and you just kind of need to pick and choose the best mix of everything and like see the potential in someone. And,
Yeah, I think that's one of the really nice things that having Randy was around to hire both myself and Zorine. And we were both, you had more experience, but we were both like pretty inexperienced in this industry. And it's nice that companies like this, and I'm sure other companies, see the potential in people. Like I had gone to uni for media, but I certainly wasn't the best editor. Thank God I can actually do it. But it's just kind of like showing that you have a passion to learn, I think is one of the best things. So whether you're practicing all sorts of different things or just being like, just putting your hand up, I'll do it in front of camera, I'll write, I'll edit, I think that's just what makes it different.
And the other thing is the culture of the company as well. We'd like to make sure someone fits in with that and is comfortable there and really happy and enjoying their job. Because that's even more important for us in Australia because we have such a small team. If someone's unhappy, it's going to affect all of us. So someone that fits into the culture well as well is important.
The short answer is higher.
Okay. Next question. Got that fellow over there with the glasses.
Mine's a bit of a two-part question. I've noticed as there's more money going into video games and video games journalism that a lot of the websites seem to lose their kind of unique personality that kind of all blend together. So I guess my question, first of all, is what's something that you guys believe that sets GameSpot apart from its competitors, IGN, Kotaku, Jargon? And also, what's something that you would each like to see in the future that GameSpot does as it evolves that would kind of set it apart from other websites? I think Dan touched a bit more in your coverage, but is there anything else you guys would like to see happen in the future?
So I think GameSpot is one of the few big sites that focuses specifically on games in the traditional way, so news, reviews, previews, and that sort of thing. IGN is kind of got whole other, men's comics, films, and general entertainment sections.
Pretty much culture and entertainment as well.
Yeah. And Kotaku doesn't do traditional reviews and previews, so GameSpot is kind of probably the most familiar, most game-specific, and most, I would say, comprehensive one of the lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and we specialize only in games, and I like to think also that we're very critical with the way we look at games as well. Like, we try to uphold a really high standard in our writing and the way we break things down and analyze things. So I think that's honestly, like, that's something I really believe sets us apart from other websites.
Yeah, I think like I'm sure everyone says this about their company, but I think we just have like such an interesting array of personalities who are all into totally different games and have their like little niche passions within this industry and within gaming itself. And I think, if there's anything GameSpot can do more, which we have started doing more, I would love to see those personalities showcased even more. I mean, that's the main thing that I keep saying. You just get to know these people and they're so interesting. And like every time you see Cam put up a reality check video or Danny's got his point, and it's great. I think it's great to see like the personalities shine through.
Yeah, all of the above, and like there's nothing I would want more than more indies on GameSpot. So yeah.
Cool. Next question.
Let's go up the back in the middle. We have one there. Yep.
I know Jess likes a good resolution battle kind of based question, but is there any sort of gaming battle that you see within the community that you just love to squash, be it, the FPS battle, the resolution battle, the console war?
I don't like the console war. I made a YouTube video actually about the fact that I don't like the console war. I think it's so stupid. I don't care. If you want to play on PlayStation, play on PlayStation. If you want to play on Xbox, play on Xbox. I have a guy, every single news episode we make on YouTube that goes up, he goes, "Oh, fuck you if you play on PlayStation, Xbox One for life." It doesn't matter if I talk about the consoles that day or not. It's every single day without fail. Don't care.
The thing is, like, it's everywhere. I mean, coming from PC Power Play, a PC-focused magazine, it was the same thing, but it was NVIDIA versus ATI or whatever. And it's just like, you can't escape it because people need to justify their expensive purchases, and they need to outwardly show that they have made a correct, sound financial decision.
Yeah.
Squash all the walls.
Pacifists.
Next question.
I think we have time for one more question.
Oh no, we got time for a few more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool, awesome. Who should we get?
Back on the right there, you. Blue lanyard.
Yes, blue lanyard, man.
Verbal abuse and harassment. Any future plans of finding a solution for this phenomenon?
A solution for harassment.
I think it's a bit above our heads.
Any thoughts about this?
I mean, like, it requires a really vigilant team of moderators, because what we have is a platform, and if we leave that platform unmoderated, it becomes a platform for harassment. So it's our responsibility to find and squash out any harassment that takes place on that platform, because we're providing it.
And we have a zero tolerance policy. Like, we just changed our code of ethics over the last year, and they've been enforcing that. Our moderators on site, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job.
Outside of the site itself, we don't really have any power over that. I mean, we can disown it and disavow it and whatever, but like, it's gonna exist. We just have to keep it away from the thing we actually do have control over.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Next question.
Do you want to go up the back? This gentleman in the plaid. I think it's plaid. My eyes are really bad. I should have worn glasses. Just here.
Just over there, right there. The white.
Yeah. Yep. Red thing. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
My question is, with all the video segments that GameSpot has on their sites, now that they've moved to a kind of international website, how do they decide who takes what segment? Like, do you have to kind of pitch ideas to the powers that be, or?
Yeah. So we aren't seen as a subsidiary, which is nice. It's not like, oh, the US gets their stuff and then we're just like the lackeys. They gave us news, which was amazing. They kind of suggested, do you guys want to take this on? And we were like, absolutely. That was a really good opportunity for us. But as a whole, GameSpot are really supportive of different shows, and we constantly have a pitch doc that any of the four of us and anybody else that works at GameSpot can contribute to and suggest something to the powers that be.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit strange because I don't have a regular show. I sort of just pitch video features.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing where it's like, I basically just need to outline it and justify why it needs to be a video and why I am the best person to do that. Yeah.
Oh, next question.
2 more questions we've got time for. Let's have one over here. We haven't had one this side of the room yet.
We like making you run around.
After this, you just come.
Sorry.
Yeah, feel free to come up.
Over there, yeah.
Afterwards, we don't get to.
Everyone, hello.
Hi.
My two-part question. Part one, do you make a podcast currently?
Kind of.
Edmund. We used to do like an after hours podcast. It's not like an official GameSpot podcast. It's more of a, we like to get together after work and chat about things and video games. But it's been
Haven't had an episode for a while.
Indefinite hiatus for a while. So.
Right, so why don't you make more podcasts?
Edmund.
Well, I think, well, the focus is on video for sure, and so if the site wants us to put emphasis into that. And I think personally, I talk to these guys every single day about video games, and like that's my satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I listen to a lot of gaming podcasts as well, and there's so much out there that I don't think we really have that much to contribute in audio form that's going to be really valuable or not already said on those. So I mean,
so many podcasts out there.
Yeah.
Game Arena podcasters.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Last question. No question. Okay. Is it quick?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
All right. Sorry about that.
Feel free to come talk to us afterwards.
Yeah. All right. Guys, thanks very much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.